Welcome back to the activation phase. This is Tim speaking, and I'm here with JP. Hello, JP.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. All right. So we're talking about the second to last faction from the Age of Chivalry, and that's the Hussites. One of the three weird ones, I think.
Saving the best to last, maybe, or
Maybe.
not. Who knows? But I think this one caused a big stir when it was announced that they would be in the book. It's also the most easternmost faction. So I think it's impossible to talk about the Hussites without just talking briefly about the vibe, what they're meant to represent, etc., etc. So basically, they I suppose it's like the Protestant Reformation before the Protestant Reformation, and they decided to split off from the Catholic Church and basically got crusaded against by the rest of Europe. So I'm sure there's it's not entirely accurate, but you get the vibe. Essentially, what this board represents is a mostly non-professional force, mostly relatively untrained or peasant militia defending their homeland against vastly more professional and superior forces using some very interesting tactics. I guess the legend, or I guess the fluff is that a basically legendary warlord Jan Ziska rocks up, is an absolute genius despite being half blind, comes up with various tactics like the Wagenburg, and which are basically just circling like heavily fortified wagons, which essentially negate the Western and Central European knights who try to attack it by having basically a fort on wheels, and some peasants armed with various utensils they've taken from the farm, essentially. So flails, sticks of various sorts, and then powered by a righteous religious zeal to make up for any lack of skill that they might have. So I think that's generally the vibe. In terms of really strange things that make them tick in Saga, they'd have, I suppose you couldn't not do this, but you have to have the wagon, the war wagon, I guess. And it's also the both a blessing and a curse. They're incredibly slow, but you really need the wagon. You need to be within range of the wagon. Things are activated by the wagon.
Yep. It's the centerpiece.
To make the board work. So it's both not incredibly tough as a kind of like a model, but there are some things on the board which kind of prolong the lifespan of the wagon. And if it fails or if you lose it too early, you're basically screwed.
You will lose, yeah.
That's fair to say. But kind of getting rid of wagon is easier said than done, despite the pretty mediocre stats of the wagon.
Just quickly before we get into the actual units and stuff, I think the one thing I really liked about the Hussites, or why I kind of connected with them, is because I really like the movie they were featured in 2020 from 2022. I think it's called Medieval or something, and it tells the story of Jan Ziska. And it's not the best movie in the world, but it's quite nice. So if you want to see if the Hussite playstyle is for you, just watch that movie. And as a person that is not at all proficient in history, it looked kind of authentic. So take it with a pinch of salt.
All right, I did not know that existed, but maybe hopefully it's on Netflix. So pro tip, not only do we cover Saga, we also have movies.
Heck yeah.
One word of maybe comment as well. It's at the moment it's incredibly warm in Europe.
It's insane.
Sweating. I've had to close the window because there's my neighbors are having a beer on the in their garden, and I've turned off my ceiling fan, so I am absolutely sweating right now. So if we sound exhausted, that's why, and I'm sure you're kind of having the same thing as me.
Yep.
Let's talk about the playstyle. Can you give us a little bit of a heads up? Why would people be interested in playing with the Hussites? What is the playstyle for someone completely fresh, completely unfamiliar with this faction?
I think the Hussites have some good value abilities that give like a good amount of dice for the saga die you put in, but also they're quite tricksy. Their war wagons have an interesting shot. It's not, maybe it's not the best, but it's definitely interesting because it can inflict fatigue. And yeah, just the wagons are such important centerpieces that you kind of in the beginning of when you build a warband or think about how you want to, what the composition should be, you really have to think about, yeah, do I want to do one or two wagons, because that kind of changes completely how you play the game. If you have like one important blob of units that benefit from one wagon and all of them benefit from it, like the Britons from Age of Invasions, or if you have two wagons and you kind of split up on the board and try to take a bigger portion of it or control a bigger portion. And I think the important part are definitely the wagons and their ranged ability, and yeah, they unlock a bunch of abilities on the board. So that's really the main thing you have to know, that the wagons are everything.
Yeah, so having talked so much about the wagons, let's dive into the equipment options. And not only do they
Yeah.
have the special wagon option, they also have some additional units which you can take. Your Warlord and Hearthguard are pretty simple. They can either be on foot with no special equipment, or they can be mounted on horses. They don't have the option for barding, so you only have the naked horses. The warriors are either equipped with no special equipment on foot, or you can take a unit, or maximum one single unit of warriors with pavises. And
Yeah.
for those, that's essentially it makes them slower, slows them down to short, but it gives them better armor versus shooting. Finally, the levies can either have crossbows, or you can take them as taborites. So that's maximum one unit can be taken as a special unit, which we'll cover in a little bit. Finally, not in the matrix itself, but or I guess in the table, but in like as a separate unit, you can take a Hussite wagon. So this wagon is going back a little bit. This is a wagon for 1 point, so no half point wagons here.
Yep.
But in response, you do get a little bit more of a beefed up fighting wagon compared to, for example, the Flemish wagon or the Eastern Prince's wagon. You can recruit. I guess, is there a limit to how many you can recruit?
No. I don't think so.
No, there's no limit. So you can have 6 points of wagons if you really want to. Probably not the best, but who knows? Maybe in a few years' time things will change. But essentially, it's 1 point. It counts as a unit of 12 levies when calculating victory points, and it's a mounted unit that activates like a unit of levies. Oh no, it does say you can't spend more than half of your saga points on
like
recruiting.
elephants.
Yeah. Okay, good. I was pretty sure that stipulation was somewhere there. I think probably going up to 3 points is a little bit overkill anyway, because you don't it's more of a support unit. You can't leave house without a wagon, but going with 3 is maybe a little bit too much, and you're kind of losing effectiveness there. So it's a single figure unit, and it must be on a base that is 40 to 80 millimeters wide and 120 to 180 millimeters long, which is incredibly long.
It's
and
insane.
does not fit on the kind of the traditional bases, which I think was it 40 to, what was the minimum values for the other wagons? Something like 40 wide and 100 millimeters long.
I don't
like
remember.
that.
No.
So this one is significantly larger. It does give you the option of making incredibly cool kind of dioramas type bases. with like people shooting out of the wagons and getting killed and doing all sorts of cool stuff. So it does give you a saga dice, luckily, so that's good. And the armor is 5 in melee, 4 against shooting, which is strange, but okay. And then aggression is 4 in melee, 4 in shooting, and then it has a special equipment called hack butts. So it's cumbersome construction, which basically means that you cannot move more. Essentially, the movement distance is S, like all of the other wagons, cannot be activated to charge, and it counts all uneven terrain as dangerous terrain. All uneven and dangerous terrain as impassable terrain, and cannot close ranks and benefit of cover. They also have some additional rules in terms of the movement, since it's such gigantic base size in terms of when you're able to pivot it, etc. But let's not talk about that in this. I think this episode will be long enough already, so we'll skip that. But essentially, they have some stipulations. I think generally you're going to be trying to avoid pieces of terrain anyway, etc., to make that work. Finally, it is a firing platform. So shooting activations don't generate fatigue, luckily, for this unit. However, if it's activated to move, the range of its shooting attacks is reduced to M until the end of the turn. If it does not move, you can use the hack butts. A special rule, basically. So it has armor, blah, blah, blah. Armor 5 melee, 4 against shooting attacks, and it is equipped with range weapons with the following rules. So if it doesn't move, it can shoot L. If it moves, it shoots M. You can't shoot it twice in a row. Essentially, you have to do some sort of other activation in between, such as, I guess, the crossbows. Finally, if the target of the wagon's shooting attack isn't exhausted, the first uncancelled hit inflicts a fatigue on the targeted unit instead of a casualty. The usual rules apply for any further casualties, etc., etc. The defending unit suffers a -1 penalty to its defense dice,
which is rough.
It's pretty rough. It's also, remember, it's got 4 shooting dice, so not bad at all. Lots of rules for this particular unit, and on top of that, they also have the levy kind of option, which you can take 1 unit of, and those are the Taborites. Basically, those are pretty hyped up peasants with low skill, but very motivated to get into the fight. So a single unit of levies can be promoted to Taborites. This is a levy unit with no special equipment and armor of 3 against both melee and shooting attacks. However, it activates like a unit of Hearthguards. Once during the turn, Taborites can activate for a free charge, which generates fatigue normally. So it doesn't sound like much. You don't get a lot of buffs. It seems like a little bit of a debuff, even since they have low armor.
I honestly don't get it. Yeah,
but you get easier activation and free charge once per turn if they survive more than 1 turn. So there's that. Okay.
Why would you bring them? I mean, we'll talk about it here in a second, but I think they're completely ass.
Okay. Hot take from Tim. Must admit, I have not played against them or with them, so I am intrigued.
But just for a quick summary on the wagon, because I think we heard a lot of rules. JP, thank you for. I never have my book with me, so you're always providing that. Just a quick summary. So the wagon shoots large when it hasn't moved, and then it has the hack butts. So you just have 4 shots, and your opponent is saving on 5s usually, so not on 4s, which is the usual shooting save, but on 5s, which is really important. And then the first casualty just becomes a fatigue, which is super important. And we'll talk about why here in a second. But yeah, first casualty becomes a fatigue, and you're saving much less efficiently.
Okay, basic abilities. So there, it's actually pretty usual, except for the Taborite units getting activated by the Hearthguard. Warriors, exactly as you would expect, and levies and wagon are activated on uncommon or a rare. Combat bonus exactly the same as for everyone else. Same thing with the activation pool. So relatively nothing too special, really. So let's go to the advanced abilities.
Yeah, notably for the combat bonus, really important, you can't buff up your wagon shooting with the combat bonus, which is really sad because that would definitely help, I think. All right, so let's get into the first ability. It's called Wagenburg, or Wagenburg, I guess. And it's an orders reaction that takes 2 common dice. It says choose a wagon until the end of the turn. All your non-mercenary units within ranged, until the end of the turn, all your non-mercenary units without ranged weapons within very short of that wagon increase their armor by 1. So you basically make that one side of your board very, very tanky, but it's very expensive. So if you have, I think the perfect setup for this usually is you have a 12 man of warriors in front of your wagon so that it can't be shot, it can't be charged. And then you pop this, and suddenly these guys become very, very, very tough. But your opponent can just decide to not interact with them. So I think that's a big drawback for that. But interesting ability. I feel like in the games I played against the Hussites maybe 3 to 5 times. In the games I played against them, I felt like I always had good options when my opponent played this to just not charge and just have them waste 2 dice. So, but it makes the guys very tough. So, what do you think, JP?
Sure, situationally, if you want to keep like what's it called, a objective someone else might make sense. But yeah, I mean, I think our feelings about 2 dice abilities pretty clear. But in the end, like the wagon is gigantic, so a lot of things are within very short. So
Yeah, right.
we will, yeah, it'll work, I guess. But let's see. All right, the next ability is called Sortie. This is using either an uncommon or a rare. It's an activation, so activate a foot unit within short of a wagon for a charge. Measure their charge distance from any point on the wagon. If you use a rare, your unit gains 3 bonus defense dice during the ensuing melee. So first of all, like the most basic one is that your warriors can be activated also within uncommon, so that's always nice.
Nice.
Again, this is the second ability, second time that the wagon is kind of mentioned as a condition for being able to use this ability, just to give you an idea of how important the wagon is. Again, I think the kind of like the sleeper hit of this particular ability is that the wagon can be up to 18 centimeters long in terms of the length of the base. If you make the diagonal, if you take the diagonal of that with like an 80 millimeter wide base as well, it becomes like ridiculously easy to move a unit from one side of the wagon to the other, plus the charge distance itself. So I'm sure, yeah. So basically, if you add everything up, you have to be short from the wagon. Can move just off the top of my head, probably about 20 centimeters. So about what's that? Like a medium plus short, which is the base size of the wagon plus the charge itself. It's like pretty quick unit basically. So it's a little bit of a surprise where you can pop out and like start smashing face. And then also bonus defense dice if you play the rare is also always nice. So I think this makes up for some of the incredibly slow play style that you have to do, since you're moving your wagon up short, slowly, and then finally your guys can pop out and actually kind of move a little bit finally. So I think this is a key one for the Hussites itself.
Yeah, it is, right. You can, I mean, it definitely is because both the uncommon and the rare are very good on this. And you can also basically double charge or move and charge with a unit, and you won't get a fatigue because you just, instead of moving the unit itself, you just move the wagon close, and then you activate the foot unit. And then, I mean, technically, you didn't activate them twice, but you still to get closer and then charged with the second activation. So it kind of feels like it, but you don't get a fatigue. And your wagon is close to the enemy, so it can shoot. So it's just very good. I always felt like this is the bread and butter of the Hussite. They play it every turn when they need to be aggressive, and even defensively, making sure that basically all your foot units can charge all the other units is just very good, because you need one guy within short of the wagon, and then you can charge from anywhere. That's just so good. It gives a lot of mobility for a foot force.
Yeah, I think here also, having played with the Eastern Prince's wagon or the Flemish wagon, like that base is a pain in the ass if you have to move around it, or if
Yes,
it's blocking yourself.
I
And
agree.
here you don't have the same issue, so it just takes a kind of like all the calculation and all the movement to make sure that you can squeeze a guy through for a charge, etc. Like it takes it away. So I think that helps the play style significantly for this board as well.
Yes. All right. Next up is Religious Seal, and I think that's mine. All right. It's a melee ability that takes a common and an uncommon, and it says re-roll all your attack dice which don't score hits. So 2 dice ability again, and this is a tough one, right? Because rerolls are really powerful into high armor targets, so into armor 5, for example. So if you have, in a situation where you have a 12 stack of warriors and you charge them in with sortie and they get 3 more attack dice, then I'm sure, they get defense dice through
Yeah,
sortie.
defense does.
Yeah. So you charge them in and they have 12 attacks, or another ability, they have 16 attacks. Then I think this can be worth it, but it's so tough because it's 2 dice. Like, you want to do a lot of stuff with these guys, and you also want to activate a lot of wagons, so uncommons are in short supply here. So it can be a tough sell to bring to actually play a common and an uncommon on the same ability, even though the ability is good.
Yeah, I think we're really, especially looking at some of the other boards, this would be a single dice ability for a lot of other boards as well. Especially because you're not getting like bonus attack dice or
Yeah.
anything else. So it does seem a little bit expensive. Maybe if this was like a shooting as well as a melee, then it might make sense as well.
Mhm.
But here it's just melee, and yeah, I don't know. It seems expensive without like anything really to make it worthwhile on the rest of the abilities.
Yeah, there's one good combo with it, I guess, but we'll talk about it here in a second when we get there. But it's still, then you pay 3 dice for a good but not insane effect, which you kind of want from like 3 dice.
Yeah. All right, the next one is Burning Faith. This is a common dice. It's an orders reaction. So remove a fatigue from a friendly non-mercenary unit. So good. I mean, your wagon is a pain in the ass. If it gets fatigued, since it is it's got resilience too. So you need to keep it alive at all costs, and being able to like just not just rest but remove fatigue, especially as orders reaction as well, makes it pretty key. So common dice instead of the what's it called, the rare or uncommon that you need, since it's a levy, is also key for this particular thing to keep it up and running. So I guess this is probably something you put down as standard, just to ensure that your wagon is not getting completely destroyed.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Really good ability, play it every turn. Removing fatigue for a common is really good value. Right, next up is Circled Wagons, activation reaction that takes either a common or an uncommon. Trigger this ability when an enemy unit activates to shoot or charge before that activation is resolved. If possible, the enemy unit must target a wagon with their charge or shooting attack. So your wagons can kind of, you can redirect, like the Romans from Age of Vikings, redirect your opponent into your wagons, and usually, I mean, your wagon is kind of tough, or should be very tough. So saving a saga die on a unit can be very good, but your wagon also doesn't punch really, like doesn't punch very hard. So it's not like you're taking a lot from your opponent when you do this. You just push them into your wagon, and they usually come out more or less unscathed. And I mean, yeah, they get a fatigue, but you also get a fatigue. So I think this one is, you really need to play this at the exact right, in the exact right situation, because there's no buff, right? The wagon doesn't get like an armor bonus or a defense dice or something. You just literally make your opponent charge your wagon instead. So it can be tough, I think.
Yeah, I think also what stands out for me is, for example, the Flemish wagon or the Eastern Prince's wagon. Essentially, they have this already built in as a standard rule for the wagon. It's like I forgot what the name is. Like it's the something
Bait,
avarice
right?
or greed or something.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
basically, it's people want to attack the wagon because they think that it's full of gold or whatever. So here you can kind of switch it on and off. But like with the Eastern Prince's wagon or the Flemish wagon, if you really want to, and if you see this is put on the board, you can angle your units to ensure that it will not be relevant. They're the kind of, maybe due to the size of the wagon, it's a little bit more difficult, and also the playstyle will be that a lot of the units will be maybe hiding behind the wagon as well. So maybe in that respect, it's less likely to be as relevant, but it still feels strange to have to pay for something which other half-point wagons get for free.
Yep, kind of weird.
All right. So the next one is called Convoy, kind of following on the wagony theme. It's a activation ability using either a common or a rare dice. Activate a wagon and a foot unit within S of each other to move. If you use a rare, resolve this ability a second time. Okay, I mean, first of all, 2 moves on the wagon, probably not the smartest thing, really, unless you want to pop it with the what's it called, the Burning Faith as well, to get rid of the fatigue afterwards. But all in all, good multiple activation for a common there as well. So it's kind of gets around the fact that you have that it activates as a levy unit as well.
Yeah.
So it makes it less painful. Plus, you get an extra like an infantry unit as well. So all in all, key. I would say this is probably a key one to put down, definitely for common. I'm not so sure about putting down a rare. Getting that fatigue on the wagon can be incredibly painful if you don't have a way of getting rid of it as well. In which case, you're already using 2 dice anyway to do this. But all in all, I think this is key for not completely destroying yourself by or using up all of your dice on movement instead of cool abilities.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? That this is one of the abilities that kind of push you towards just bringing a second wagon, because it doesn't say it needs to be the same wagon, same foot unit. So if you have 2 wagons and you put a rare in here, you get, for basically 2 dice, because rare kind of counts as 2 dice. You get 4 activations, which is very good value. So that's, not many factions can do that. So the second wagon kind of makes sense just from because Convoy is here and has this rare. So I think it's super tough to decide if we want to bring 1 wagon or 2 wagons. And I just, a spoiler for later, I definitely don't have an answer. Maybe JP has one, but that's really
Maybe
tough.
not.
And Convoy already pushes you towards, you can either use it with a common all the time and bring 1 wagon, or put your first rare in here and use it with 2 wagons. Really tough.
Yeah, I think the option with the common already makes it puts it up there in terms of value. So
yeah,
I think you're not. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's not. I think it's more than fine. It's really good, except for
good,
the rares. Makes less sense if you only have 1 wagon. That's all. All right, enough about that.
All right, next up is Flailed. It's a melee ability that says gain 2 attack dice, or 4 if a unit has no ranged weapons. So a 4 attack dice for a common is really nice. So that's really good on your warriors or on your Hearthguard or your warlord. And of course, this is also really nice with the religious seal, so where you reroll all your attack dice. And for your wagons, this means 2 attack dice instead of 4, which is still all right. I'm happy it's not just straight up restricted to units with no ranged weapons. So I feel like this is just very good value. It's usually 4 attacks for a common, and they, in the long run, that will definitely pay off if you play that a lot.
Yeah. All right. I think also there's like no obvious super duper combo with anything else. I mean, it's just good all around. Okay, the next one is Fervor of the Downtrodden. It's
Great
a
name.
I know it's a good name. It's a activation ability using an uncommon dice. So activate a unit of warriors or levies on foot or a charge that gains 3 bonus attack dice during the ensuing melee. Right. Again, nothing wrong with it. Absolutely, it's basically a. I think most boards actually have something like this in terms of like the 3 bonus attack dice, and then this is actually relatively good value as well because you can get a charge, especially since it's warriors or levies. So can't complain if you have not enough commons or something like that. If you roll tons of uncommons, why not? But all in all, like why not? If you're going to charge, do this. If you already have a very decent alternative also with sortie as well. So 2 ways of getting a charge plus something else for 1 dice. So all in all, not bad at all.
Yeah, good charges, definitely. Good charges so far. The one gives good range, the other one gives good bonus dice, so not bad. All right, next up is, and I definitely don't know how to say that, Hoofnies maybe. It's an activation reaction that takes a rare. And it says trigger this ability when an enemy unit activates to shoot or charge before that activation is resolved. Activate a wagon to shoot at the activated unit. If the activated enemy unit takes at least 1 uncancelled hit, it must discard 2 attack dice from its shooting or melee pool. So this one's very, very interesting because you can use this to when a unit of horses, horse Hearthguard, horse warriors, doesn't really matter, or anything really, is charging you. You can use this and make sure, or you have a somewhat okay chance to inflict a fatigue, because that's what the wagons do, right? They use the hack butts. You can inflict a fatigue, and then you can just decide if you want to let them come in with 2 discarded attack dice, or if you want to just cancel it if you think you're going to lose your wagon, for example. So that's really nice, because your opponent kind of to deny that, they have to take your fatigue, and then your wagon is more survivable. So it makes sense that it costs a rare, because there's no good decision for your opponent once you decide that it's time to use your wagon to shoot. Just a very, very good ability.
And maybe also as a clarification as well, since the range of the shooting attack is either M or L if you've moved in your turn, since this is a activation reaction, I'm assuming that you always count as not having moved. In the turn, given the phrasing of saga abilities as well, but just good to stipulate that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's always going to be large for the shot, and always going to be the hack buds. So when you can inflict fatigue. So that's definitely the important one.
Yeah, I guess unless which board can force a unit to move? I think it's a free companies, right?
Yeah, you're right.
in Europe, so except for maybe that specific combination, but yeah, I'm not sure if there's a. Okay, I don't know if this is like a game-winning combo from the free companies.
Yeah, I don't.
But who knows?
Maybe. That's actually quite annoying. You're right. Yeah.
But I think there's not a lot of those types of abilities to make this
Yep.
irrelevant. But okay, good to know. Yeah, definitely snazzy little. I think it's also cool, like a little cannon going off, boom, scaring people. Can't go. I think that's nice thematically as well, and
Yep.
it gives you an idea, or it gives you a chance to go pew pew with your little toy models
Nice.
as well. So that's kind of what we do it for, right? All right. The last one is called Protection. It's again an uncommon. It's a melee ability, so gain 2 defense dice. If your unit is within short of a wagon, gain 2 additional defense dice. So not bad. You probably will be within short of a wagon most of the time. So 4 defense dice for uncommon, nothing wrong with that. The only downside here is you are absolutely wanting to put your uncommon dice all over the place with lots of other abilities requiring uncommon. So that's the
Yeah.
only thing I see. I'm not sure that this would be particularly worthwhile trying to do it if you weren't next to a wagon, but definitely if you want to make your unit survivable, all good. That's kind of the end of the board itself. And having looked at the board, this is not like a board which where like the combos really spring out at you and is super obvious, and nothing is particularly like a game winning combo that jumps out at you. So it's a little bit of a strange faction where you're gonna have to grind, but you're not incredibly good at grinding.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's yeah, essentially the vibe I'm getting. I might be wrong, but it just doesn't
No.
seem like anything really sticks out. Like you've got like nice little shooting ability. You can take some crossbow dudes to shoot a little bit. Um, but it's yeah. I mean, it's okay. Like I don't know. Where I'm worried about, especially with this kind of like overall, like looking at the play style and the hobbying and everything else. I think thematically it's incredibly cool. I think it's also very like a very like aesthetically really interesting to play this warband. However, this is kind of like a Flemish warband or something like a pike warband where you're going to be relatively slow and plodding and due to the wagon just being really slow. Um, so that's kind of my fear as well in terms of not wanting to pick up the Hussites. However, I might be wrong. Maybe it's completely different. But what do you think about the general play style and kind of like what people are going to be doing with this board?
Yeah, you can be very tricksy with it. Like your wagon can just your wagons can just do a lot of stuff. They can be protective if you need them to be. They can kind of give charge range or give other buffs, and or kind of deny charges on other units. So it's very, very interesting. But the raw power of the abilities, I think, just really make it just makes it super tough for the wagon to be useful and more than just a support piece, because keeping the wagon alive is just such a major hassle. 2 or 3 charges into the wagon where your opponent won't lose stuff because the wagon just doesn't hit very hard. Still takes out your wagon, and you didn't gain anything from it. Yeah, your opponent has like 2 or 3 fatigues, but you will definitely be fatigue bombed from that. So I just feel like it's so hard to balance these units, these tough or supposedly tough units that just really aren't that tough. Whenever I played the Hussites, I felt like, okay, I just got to focus everything and throw everything into the wagon, and then if the wagon dies, I basically win in the second round. And if the wagon doesn't die, I probably lose. But the wagon usually dies when you charge it 4 times. So I haven't seen a crazy composition that made me think, damn, that's unbeatable for Age of Chivalry. So I'm really looking forward to, yeah, seeing more people experiment with these guys, because even the wagon sizes themselves, like itself, the wagon size itself is super interesting. Like, do you put a super big wagon and use max range on all your abilities, or do you just do a very small wagon so you can protect it more easily? What the heck? I just don't know.
Yeah, I think if you really want to, the wagon can be buffed up a little bit in terms of like using protection, I guess, because the
Yeah.
wagon is within short of itself, and you can get like 4 defense dice, and you can get rid of fatigue with the burning faith, etc. But still, you're right. Like they're like elephants. Essentially, you just want to pick them off with small
They're so
shooting
much
or
worse than
lots of.
elephants.
Yeah. That's right. Because like an elephant, you're not going to charge it with Hearthguard or mounted things just to
Yeah.
put a fatigue
Yeah.
on it, because they're going to get
Yeah.
absolutely stomped.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Here, they're like, yeah, okay, 4 attack dice, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not.
You don't give.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
care. You might lose one guy. You might just charge in some levy a few times, and it doesn't really matter. So I think, there it's. I guess maybe what's missing a little bit is like like what you have, like maybe resilience 3 or something from or canceling hits, or canceling the first fatigue, like you see on some other boards, like I guess the French or something, can cancel like actual like wounds suffered or something like that. So it's like something like that would. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to crash in there because I don't think that solves the problem at all, because that's not the problem. Because the fatigues that kill the wagon are the fatigues that come from the charge, not from the actual hits you put through. At least in my experience, right? You just charge it 4 times, and the first 3 charges are like 7-man warrior units, and yeah, they won't. Maybe one of them will kind of get a hit and then a uncancelled hit through, and you get another fatigue, but you just charge for the fatigue from the charge itself, because there's nothing to protect against that. Yes, you can remove a fatigue with Burning Faith in your turn or in your opponent's turn, but when your opponent charges you 4 times in a row, you can play all the defensive abilities in the world. It won't change a thing. The wagon needs a sort of a punishment for that playstyle, right? It just needs 1 auto hit or 2 auto hits when it gets charged, exactly like the elephant, where it really hurts. Okay, I can't just charge this guy 5 times.
Yeah, or for example, that the unit gets like an extra fatigue or something, or it's bogged down, it gets something like that. Because
Yes, something like that.
I don't think the point of the wagon is actually to do a lot of damage, just to block people and fatigue people, like thematically. So I think something like that would really be
That is a very cool idea.
interesting.
Yeah.
And then also just thinking about, for example, taking the Flemish or taking the Scottish, like I wouldn't charge that. I would just park them within short and just shoot them. Then something would get through, especially because it's armor 4 in shooting anyway.
Yeah.
And there's like no downside for me. I'm not getting a fatigue. I'm plinking away. Okay, it's not as efficient because you're not getting the fatigue from the charge itself. But with armor 4, it's not a big deal, right? So I think there's a lot of workarounds, and yeah, there's just not enough maybe downside to charging it, or there's not like you're not. Yeah, but on the other hand, like they probably tested this, and then they this is probably like the happy medium as well. But no, I think it's not going to be like a super easy faction to play, because you're going to be slow. Objectives are going to be painful. There's no real buff. For example, if you want like a unit of like mounted warriors, which you can shoot out and like run away and grab an objective, something like that. Like none of that is really possible, and you can't really like once you get away from the wagon, most of these abilities are pretty mediocre. So yeah, you're kind of stuck by the wagon. If you have to, for example, go like the sacred ground, the German Grand Melee scenario, if you need to be capturing like multiple areas which are not generally, or I guess by definitions, it's going to be outside of the range of the wagon buff, you're already really disadvantaged. That you're essentially just committing yourself to 2 out of 3 objectives without really having like a significant threat to the objective that they're going to get, kind of like away from your wagon, stuff like that. It just makes it very tough all around. I don't know, like aesthetically and hobby wise, very interesting, but playstyle wise, yeah, I'm just not convinced. Let me put it that way.
And I mean, there's people out there that think that the Hussites are the best faction in chivalry, and they definitely have some nice plays, but they just, in my opinion, they don't have these game-winning, these game-winning combos, or the ceiling them is quite low in my experience. But I'm definitely looking forward to being smashed by the Hussites multiple times and soon, but just hasn't happened yet.
All right. Okay. I think we've talked enough about the downsides. How would you actually build a Hussite warband now? Looking positively, now that we have maybe scared away people from playing the warband itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's not at all the intention, right? The warband is super cool, and you can paint 2 wagons or 1 wagon. And I honestly have no idea how to build a warband. I literally cannot give any insight. Bring 1 wagon or 2 wagons, fill the rest up with warriors. Don't bother with Hearthguard. There's no interaction on this board that says, yeah, bring Hearthguard, please. It's just all warriors, and then see where it goes. I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, I think that's kind of interesting because you don't really have like a killer attack or something like that. You don't have like, let's take 6 Hearthguard, and they can be buffed to the max or something like that. There's nothing like that really, where it's really obvious that you can cause a knockout blow. Same thing. There's nothing to buff your warlord, for example. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree there. I think definitely skip the Hearthguard. I don't think there's any kind of like combination where they become incredibly good. I think you want probably one. I think one point of wagon is probably the sweet spot. 2, if you really, yeah, like you're missing out on so much if you're taking 2 points of wagons. So I take 1 point, probably 4 points of warriors in various. I'm not even sure the Pavises make a ton of sense.
Depends on the opponent. I think if
Yeah,
you go into shooting armies, Pavises in front of your wagon will be incredible with the armor buff as well. Then there'll be armor 5 with saving on
yeah,
3s,
yeah.
right? What you're never
Even
gonna
there
get.
with the sortie, they can or kind of like move a little bit quicker as well. But you're limited to
Yeah,
1 unit, so it's not like you're taking only Pavises either. And then crossbows, yeah, I can see crossbows happening a little bit. You do have a little bit of shooting with the wagon, but not super much. So if you're maybe facing like a um, mounted faction, might make a little bit more sense. I don't know. I think just generally, but no idea if this makes a ton of sense. 1 point wagon, 1 point levy crossbow, rest warriors. Maybe 1 point of Pavises to kind of round it out. And you've got like a bunch of bodies who can survive. You've got your wagon chilling out. Um, you've got a little bit of shooting. And warriors are good, whatever. So can't go wrong.
yeah. I'm completely overwhelmed by this faction. I have no idea how. Like, yes, I think we're bringing some options, but what actually works, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the Taborites as well. There, we're not. There's nothing here where we're saying, "Oh, this is amazing. This one ability makes the Taborites incredibly good." And maybe we've missed it, but
Hi
I don't
guys,
know. I
I'm
don't.
really enjoying the.
Yeah. All right. Let's. Do you wanna rank them, JP?
Of how many pilsners. This is all right. Let's. I don't know. I would say like for me 2.5 out of 5 pilsners.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Like
you're.
I can't get super excited by the play style. I think the hobby aspect is super amazing. Also, we've seen like some pictures of is it Gabor who's made like the really nice
Yes.
diorama,
Yes. Yes.
like
Yes. Yes.
that one. Yeah, that is like it's like a one man billboard for playing Hussites with that one
Yeah.
model. But I don't know. Except for that, like the playstyle for me just doesn't like it. It doesn't do it for me. So maybe it's down to that. And you?
Yeah, I think I'll just go with 2 out of 5. Honestly, I for the playing side, right? The hobby side is straight up 4.5. But the yeah plays I don't think it's a lot of fun to play into or play. I'm sorry, I'm so I don't know, pessimistic or negative about them. I think they're one of the factions that if there is some work done on them, they can be incredible and not overpowered, just incredible and work really really well. Like the wagons just need some sort of buff, I think.
About half point wagons. That might be. I don't know. It tends to be the way that these things go, like a half point wagon, and then maybe take away the saga dice. But we'll see. All right. Yeah, it's not entirely surprising that this faction is not like our number one faction, given that our love of the steppe peoples of various sorts. We like movement. We like zipping around
Right.
and fatigue plays and stuff like that. And this just isn't. I guess you would say that this is the exact opposite of that. So in the end, it's like, you know, in Warhammer people play dwarves for some reason, and this is kind of like that faction for me. Like turtle up and just
Right.
yeah, do that. So it seems to work for some people, and you might be that person. So no judgment there.
All right, yeah. So let's finish up with the Hussites.
Maybe one thing that we can put in as well is a maybe a little bit of an announcement as well, in terms of like generally we keep these episodes like evergreen, not related to specific time periods. However, we have a tournament on the 20th of September in Amersfoort. So I know this clashes with another German tournament in Bremen. I think I don't know. I think it's okay to have 2 tournaments within like 400 kilometers of each other. I think actually it's not 400. I think it's like 200 kilometers, but still, I think that's acceptable. It is on 20th of September in Amersfoort, so playing both Crusades and Chivalry together, and kind of like the standard Amersfoort setup. 18. I think we're limited to 18 places this time, and kind of like we're going to take a relatively easygoing tournament for this one. Also, I received and currently editing a episode with our Polish friends Jan and Andrzej regarding a pretty big event that they're setting up, which seems incredibly interesting as well, for the kind of like the Polish Grand Melee, which is in October. Before I say the wrong dates, but it is that episode will be released shortly. It's a little bit shorter episode, but just to give you an idea, they're essentially making a large wargaming convention. Saga is part of that, but it's not just wargaming, it's also additional activities, and it's in the Warsaw Historical Museum as well, so a really good location there.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So look out for that, and I will be posting some links to that as well. So thank you very much for listening. We are almost at the end of the Age of Chivalry. I guess we just have the Condottieri, which will be a gigantic episode, which we will need to meditate on and study for. And then I'm not actually sure I guess we'll go back to the Crusades, yeah, and finish that one off. I can't remember. I think we did 2 or 3 before the FAQ dropped. So I guess we might have to revisit this one a little bit.
That's all right. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.